All right, so
I can steal my sisters.
ladies and gentlemen, let's do another one, and we are gonna review what the pattern is here, because I know it's a little bit shaky on this one, because with the fraction it gets a little weird. Yeah.
Are we gonna have like the fraction thing on the quiz?
Sure. Yeah. No, you're gonna be able to handle it just fine.
Boy.
Yeah. What? Come on, you see it for the first time, Marcel, and you're just dismissing it? Come on, man. You can do this. All right. It is.
How do you close this?
Okay, so let's do one more. B squared plus 6b
I found out.
plus c.
Oh boy!
Oh, wouldn't it be 30? Is that a 6
Wouldn't
feet?
it be 9?
6b.
Okay, good.
It'd be 9, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Wait, how? 3 and 3
It's
equals.
3 and 3 multiplied or add together to make 6.
Oh yeah, you got that point.
Yep.
Plus
Yep.
two.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's clarify. Whoops, what am I doing here? Let's clarify. All right, so we've got basically we're taking this. The shortcut is you can cut it in half and then square it. And what we're doing is we're completing the square. We're making it a perfect square trinomial, which means we can factor it super quick, right? Super quick.
X plus 3.
B plus
Actually,
3
Squared.
Yeah.
squared. Okay, so did you guys clarify, erase this up here? All right. Write this down if you don't mind. The C value, the way I've learned to get the C value is to take the B value, cut it in half, and then do what?
Squared.
Square it. So that's if you need a formula for it, which is kind of helpful. But yeah, so cut it in half, square it. That gets you your C value. Now, some people are saying, well, why do you even bother with that when after you factor it, you get that number? Why don't you just cut this in half and be done? Well, it's because what we're going to do is, here in a second, we're going to solve equations. And when you introduce the 81, you're going to have to balance it out on the other side of the equation. So it's going to be important to write that down. All right. So this right here is the pattern used to complete the square. Okay, that's the pattern right there. Take your B term. There are other ways to view that pattern, by the way. I can't remember what they are exactly. Oh, I know what people were doing. I think they squared it and then divided by 4. It's kind of weird because I've taught this a few different ways. One way is I let people guess how to go from B to C, guess what the relationship is. And I remember one year somebody guessed something that wasn't this, and it kind of threw me off, but it totally worked. All right, so now that we've done this a little bit, starting to see some relationships, let's actually see what this looks like for solving. So if you would, write this sentence down real quick. Now let's see how this can help us solve equations.
Can you write that down?
Please.
Okay.
Now let's see how this can help us solve equations. And we're going to solve x squared minus 18x equals negative 17. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty sure these are going to be nice answers, which means we could solve this by factoring. We could get it equal to 0, factor it, set each factor equal to 0. But I also want to show you that you can solve it by completing the square. So it's a different approach. It'll get you the same answers. So what you're going to do is you are going to leave the negative 17 here, but you're going to find out what C value you can add in here to complete the square, okay? You're going to see what C value you add in to complete the square. But here's what you got to be careful with. Aren't you introducing a new number? In an equation, when you introduce a new number, what do you got to do? You got to balance it out, don't you? You either have to add it to the other side, like we're going to do, or, this is kind of weird, if I added a 1 on this side and then immediately subtracted a 1, wouldn't they undo each other? So you could like add and subtract on the same side. It doesn't really help a whole lot. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, what's our C value in this case? Oh, we've actually done this one, haven't we? So, and in truth, it's actually going to be positive 81. Yep, because you take negative 18, divide it by 2, you get negative 9. But what's negative 9 squared?
81.
Yeah, it's going to be 81. But then what do we got to do to balance it out?
Do it on the other side.
Do an 81 on the other side.
Wait, what's the 81?
That one.
Oh, our C value. C is equal to negative 18 divided by 2 squared, which is 81. Now that we've completed the perfect square trinomial, we call it completing the square, how can we now write this in factored form?
X minus 9 squared.
X minus 9 squared
Equals 60.
equals 64. Is that what that is? Yeah? And now, can we solve that? We can solve it using square roots. Square root both sides. Is 64 happen to be a perfect square? Oh yeah. Don't forget your plus or minus. So we get x minus 9 is equal to plus or minus 8. Which means we're going to solve 2 equations, aren't we? I want to move it over here if you don't mind. We're going to do x minus 9 equals 8. And we're going to get x is equal to 17. But what else do we need to solve? X minus 9 equals negative 8. And what answer will that give you? 1. 2 solutions. Now, I don't know if you guys realize this, but if we were to solve this by factoring, what 2 numbers multiply together to make 17 but add together to make 18? 17 and 1. Same answer. Okay, same answer. All right, let's do one more before we get out of here. Okay. Oh, yeah, I'll write that down here. 2x squared plus 12x. Oh, you know what? I'm a liar. That's later. So sorry. So sorry. I'm jumping way ahead. Let's do. Oh no, I'm a double liar. I wasn't jumping way ahead. 2x squared plus 12x minus 10 equals 0. Now, I'm going to tell you that this is a problem that is not solvable by factoring, okay? The only reason we're going to be able to factor this, or to solve this, is by completing the square. There's a couple things going on. First things first, is 10 a perfect square?
No.
Is 2 a perfect square? No. But what do you notice about all of these?
They're all factorable by 2.
Yeah, they're all factorable by 2 or divisible by 2. Since it is an equation, I'm going to divide everything by 2. get x squared plus 6x minus 5 equals 0. You guys okay with that? Oh, now is this a perfect square?
Yes.
Now we're back on track. But is this a perfect square?
No.
Okay, so we're getting closer. Let's move that 5 where?
Over to
Over to the other side. So we'll have 5 on this side. And now we're ready to get a new C value to complete the square. And it's gonna be 9. How are we getting that again?
Because you split the 6 in half and you want the square.
6 divided by 2, square it, you get 9. What do you gotta do to keep it balanced?
the
Gotta do it on the other side.
Roll.
Now, we've completed the square. This is a perfect square trinomial that we can write as what?
X plus 3.
X plus 3 squared equals
14.
14. Square root both sides. Does 14 break down? 7 and 2, neither of those are perfect squares. So what you're left with is x plus 3 is equal to plus or minus square root of 14. Are we done?
I
We're
hope.
not done. We're not done. Is x by itself?
No.
We're going to subtract a 3 over. But is 3 going to combine with this?
Nope.
No. So here's what your answer looks like. Your answer is, we always write the normal number out front. It's negative 3 plus or minus square root 14. Or you could write it as 2 separate answers. X equals negative 3 plus square root 14. And what else?
Minus 14.
X equals negative 3 minus square root 14. Now, those answers are pretty ugly, but could you get a decimal approximation? Yep, square root of 14, and then subtract a 3. So we'll practice this